Hello world, welcome to my channel where I'm building my own digital assistant named Shane, like Jarvis from the Iron Man movies and comics. We will be building off the last video where we set up a faux Python server, and then we set up this quick little UI text box to where we can pass things to Python and Python replies back. And so we had just a normal UI button, and now we have my logo. That logo is what you'll see on all my YouTube videos. It's going to be my business logo, and we have taken that from a JPEG to Blender and then into Unity to be used as a button for this program. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. And so we're going to start off by taking it from a JPEG to what's called a SVG file. And that way we can import it into Blender, and we'll be using Inkscape. So let's go over to Inkscape. Okay, so first we're going to import our .jpeg file. So we're going to leave all these options pretty much the same. You'll see that the file imported. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Then we're going to go to Path, Trace Bitmap. And then from there we're going to invert the image. We're going to set this pretty low right here. And then when you do that, it will try to keep as much noise down as possible, since I have all those highlights and everything. And by inverting the image, it takes away the black part and just leaves us with that. So there's still quite a bit of noise in there. I'm trying to mess with the threshold so you can see how much noise comes in and out. So I'm going to try to find the best one, because in Blender, all of this noise is going to create little vertices that we're going to have to delete. So it's best just to clean them up now before we go into Blender. So yeah, I'm going to try different ways, seeing if smoothing the curves helps. It doesn't really. Even outside the line, it's hard to see because I don't zoom in, but there's this noise that is on the outer edges, and so that kind of sucks. And so that's pretty much the final project. Those white lines that you could see, those were the highlights. Those are gonna cause problems when we go into Blender. So now we're going to export it and save it, import selected only, and then we're going to save it as an SVG file. There we go. And it's saved to screenshots, and I already saved it once in testing, and so I just replaced it. So now that we have it on Inkscape, I'm going to save this project, and then I'm going to import this into Blender. So let's do that now. All right, so now we are in Blender. We're just going to do a general project here. And the first thing we're going to do is delete that default box. And now we are going to import an SVG file that we just saved. And then just open it there. And you'll notice that you can't see it. And that's because it imports it super tiny. So zoom in. There you can see it laying flat on the surface. Zoom in on it a little bit more. And that is our SVG. It looks pretty good right now, but we will zoom in a second. And you can kind of see in this view, see all the white highlights I mentioned before. So let's scale this up a little bit. I chose to make it bigger. And then we're going to zoom in and we're going to fix this. So as you can see, there are a bunch of peculiarities. So you go to edit mode And then you just kind of start deleting some of the noise. And when you do that, it might go crazy or it might work just fine. And you just delete the vertices until you get the picture looking how you want it. So in my case, deleting these vertices make it a little bit more rounded, and my logo is has some very sharp angles. So then you can just use the move or the rotate to rotate these individual vertices until you get it. And then you move it back to where you want, and then you could just delete these vertices. So I'm going to do that for the whole thing. So actually I'm going to speed up this recording and do kind of a time lapse for you on kind of editing all these vertices. Okay, now that we have a clean image, you can see it's totally flat. And so we want to give it some 3D. So go to the right pane and we're going to look for, we're going to mess with the geometry of the object. So first we're going to give it some depth right here and their elevation. Now, when I scaled it to 10, 10, 10, you can change it to where the elevate and the bevel scale with it too. I chose not to, so we're in the 0.00. But as you can see, even a small adjustment makes it fat and puffy, and we want it more slick. So I think that looks pretty good. It's got a good 3D effect to it. And I think we'll leave it at this right here. So the next thing we're going to do is assign a material to it. I wouldn't spend too much time with this because we're going to add a material in Unity to make it look more. But I do want to make sure it's going to have the look I want before I go to Unity. So we'll do a quick material and then render it to see if we like it. So I'm increasing the metallic rate. I gave it a gold base color. And then we'll put the roughness, all the way down to look like a metal. Render it. This is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I could change the camera angles if I wanted to, but I'm pretty good with this. We can do a lot more in Unity. So now let's just save the project just in case we have to come back into Blender and make any changes. So this is just saving the project. But next we're going to export it into an FBX file, and this is the file that we'll use to import into Unity so we can use it. Okay, now that we saved that .fbx file from Blender, we can import it into a Unity project. So let's go to, we'll do a clean one before we implement it into a real program. So I'm going to do Universal 3D and we'll do a logo test 1. Create a project. Okay, so here is a blank project. So then we're going to go to Documents, find the logo.fbx, which is right here. And we're just going to drag that into our assets folder. So let's come here. And now we have the logo. Okay, so now we have the logo. Let's just drag it here. Let's do it like right there. And then, so the scale, let's make it slightly bigger. Let's go 1250, 1250, 1250. And now let's rotate it. Rotation, let's try negative 180. Perfect. Leave it like that. I'm actually okay with that. Maybe move it slightly. See if it's like in the middle right there. And then bring it closer to the camera. There we go. I don't really like this material. This imported from the Blender project, and it looked okay in Blender, but we're going to create something in Unity. And then let's create a new material by going to create material. And now you can see all of this is open here. So we can name this to, let's say, gold material. All right. And let's change this to a gold-ish color. That one looks pretty good. Okay, let's do a metallic map. So, I don't know. Let's just go straight to 1. Smoothness, pretty high. Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, and now we can just drag it onto this, I believe. Oh, no, drag it onto the actual object. There we go. And then we can go main camera. And we should be a... let's do black. Perfect. I think if we render this, though, it's going to be dark. Nope, that actually looks pretty good. Let me back up a little bit, though. All right, that's pretty good. I think my scale is off. Yeah, but that is how we get our logo into... So we took it from a picture, we put it into Inkscape to create a .svg, and then we put it into Blender, and then we created a .fbx file in which then we imported into Unity. So now that we did that, I would like to bring this into a project. So let's move over to that project. All right, so we're in the program that I created from the last video where I passed a string to a Python program. And so I got rid of the button that used to be here and I added my logo. I had some difficulty figuring this out because this UI text thing is on a different layer than the logo. So if you look at the scene view, even though it is right on top of it, it is not how it looks like when I press play, and it's not how I looks like with the main camera. As you can see, it shows this logo pretty far back. But either way, I was able to figure it out. I added a collider to it and then had to create a script that allows the camera to see it and to use the chat sender. We used to have a button here called button. Now it's my logo. So let me start this Python program. All right, it is started. And then we're going to press play. And now I have this text and then the logo. You see how it's far apart and this is closer than the camera? So that's weird. But anyways, if I pass a string here, subscribe to my channel. And then now I can press the logo. And Python already replied, says Python received, subscribe to my channel. And when we go to Python, it says a successful post. And then Unity said, subscribe to my channel. So that is everything. We took a logo all the way from just a JPEG into Inkscape, into Blender, into Unity, and now we have it as a button in a program. So I hope you enjoyed this process. I hope you watched the previous video to understand how I just did what I did. And please consider subscribing to my channel to see where we go from here as we bring this AR-related project into Digital Assistant. And thanks for watching. Goodbye, world.